many Rubes. Rubes, please, no Rubes.
Oh, that pisses me off. That pisses me right off.
And that's a fact.
Oh, no!
It's a covenant cleanup.
Personal foul. Clipping.
High fives for everybody. L.
Day 3 of the State Fair for 9 to noon. Good morning, everybody, and a happy sultry Monday to you. I'm Paul Allen. The producer is Nardo, and here we are. Brett Blakemore guides the great ship Love Covenant from the 651 Carpets Plus studios at FM 100.3 KFAN. Day 3 of the State Fair for the old 9 to nooner, and that's how many preseason wins your Minnesota Vikings secured through 3 games. They went 3-0 in the preseason, and off the number 3, Jordan Addison. That's something approaching the regular season against the New York Giants 2 weeks from yesterday. Number 3, Jordan Addison. When will he play? Will he play in that game? Saturday and Philadelphia and quarter 3. Kevin O'Connell stole the show and brought us inside the game.
Hey, PA, check this out. Probably going to try a screen here to Debo. Get back on track down, see if we can execute. Got to block 57 will be the key.
McBride, screen right.
We not only blocked him, we probably held him a little bit, but they didn't call it.
Oh, look at McBride.
How about that?
McBride toe-tapping the sidelines.
Yeah, and you can see 57 looked right at the official like, come on, man. Like, you didn't call that hold.
KOC, yeah, you know we. That was outstanding, having Kevin O'Connell join for the totality of the third quarter, Saturday from Philadelphia. The man is, he's analytically raised from his days at San Diego State University. In 2012, he actually was the sideline analyst for Aztecs football, SDSU, on something called, I think it's KOGO. So he was ready. The game was rather nondescript in the third quarter, but having the head coach bring us inside play calls and offensive and defensive formations, that was another preseason highlight, like Justin Jefferson quarter 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders, and Harry the Hitman quarter 3 against the Cleveland Browns. So thank you very much, Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings Entertainment Network and Vikings Media Relations for the implementation and subsequently the execution. 3, the number of touchdowns scored this preseason by wide receiver Tristan Jackson, who I predict makes the final 53. Take it away.
Gaskin to the left of Hall. Takes the snap. Jaron over the middle at the goal line. Caught and touchdown, Minnesota Vikings. Tristan Jackson with his 3rd preseason touchdown. He has one in each game. The Vikings take a 6-0 lead. And I guess what's next coming from the analyst Pete Bursich? I've seen enough with Tristan. You can just put him on ice.
Now, with the Timber Tech What's on Deck set list today, some of the guests include Gabe Henderson from Vikings Entertainment Network. Ben Gessling covers the team for the Star Tribune. And Alec Lewis will be here at 11 o'clock, covers the team for the Athletic. We will deep dive with those elite football minds, the final 53, and to make some predictions as to how the roster could look when we crack the airwaves Wednesday for 9 to noon with cut down tomorrow. And Tristan Jackson is a wide receiver, I believe, will be making the team, but that's not speaking for the team. That's just the announcer's prediction. Now, one guy who absolutely will be making the team provided the final 3 Viking scores, and they all were from the right foot of this guy.
57-yard try. His long at Alabama was 52. Reichert, line drive. Come on!
There we go.
Oh, man, I love our kicker.
There we go.
Will Reichert from 57 with a line drive that might have been good from 61.
Minnesota Vikings fans are never comfortable when we have a good kicker, right? I mean, like when the kicker hits everything in the preseason and, like, say in 2012 goes 10 of 10 from 50 and beyond, like the Georgia kid Blair Walsh. You know, we just may have to chill with that emotion with this kid, because this kid is steely and he is absolutely fantastic. Will Reichert, don't leave home without him. And finally, as we get you prepped up for the Minnesota Vikings regular season, after the game, I had the opportunity to sit down with the great Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, he's JJ.
There we go, Paul!
Now, I asked for 3 minutes, and he gave us 6, including a cameo from his dear friend and wide receiver Tristan Jackson, and here it is.
Before we get to some pertinent things with Justin Jefferson, Tristan Jackson would like to ask him a question. Number 8, go ahead.
So with all the preseason success for the team, how did that carry on into the 2024 season?
Well, he's trying to be a real reporter here.
Just man, I help you, man.
Yeah, you didn't expect that. You didn't expect that.
Man. Hey, it's always good to win. It's always good to come into, other people's locker room and get a dub. So, just transitioning on to the regular season and just carrying on that same momentum, that same energy. Just getting the dub. That's always something that we're looking for. So, it's good to have that. 3-0 started the season and going into the new season with some more energy.
All right, with everybody wanting to leave, I'm not going to sit in front of you and talk to you about the 2024 regular season, but since Tristan started it that way, he had 3 touchdowns this preseason. What'd you think of your buddy's preseason?
Our dog like that. Every game I've been telling him to be consistent. That's his main thing. Is just in this league you got to be consistent. So every single time he's stepping out there on that field, he's making a play. And it goes to show you in practice. The amount of plays that he's making in practice, the hard work that he's doing in training camp, definitely shows out there on the field.
All right, so here's the real reason I bum rushed the stool. Okay, Kevin O'Connell, your coach, he joined us on the sideline, mic'd up for the entire third quarter, like you did in the first game. Kevin did a wonderful job. You did a wonderful job in that Raiders game. I'm suggesting a call-off next preseason. Same game. You do like the second quarter. He does the third. What do you think of that, Justin?
Hey, I wouldn't mind. I kind of like the broadcast. I might have to do that after my career's over with.
Okay, now, lastly, the real reason I came over here is when we were doing the third quarter in the Raiders game, everything went so fast, and we got McCarthy with the explosive touchdowns to Tristan and Trent Sherfield Sr. and so on. We were having a good time. I forgot to ask you, with the Netflix series Receiver, what was it like seeing your mom and dad? As long as you did, they're your mom and dad, but they've spent their whole lives watching you and like following you on TV and radio and stuff, but you got to see them.
Yeah, it was definitely different, but it was wonderful, just to see the love that they have for the 3 boys that they have, the amount of support that they always give us, and just being great parents, always teaching us how to be humble and be grateful for everything that we get. So for Netflix to really see the way our family operate, how we talk to each other, how we move, and to end it off with me getting a contract and showing how happy and everybody was, it was definitely great to see my family actually getting that TV time that they always wish they get.
Did they like use your agent or get an agent to like take it to the next step for some type of Netflix, like the new Ozark or something on Netflix?
They've been trying to get back on that TV a little bit more often now, so maybe they've been talking a little bit extra.
Now you and I have talked about this a little bit off the microphone, but I mean, it's just so impressive the way you handled your personal business up to a deal that you wanted and they wanted to give you. And you know what I'm talking about, man. A lot of people get loud about it, get covert on social media, put dumb things out there. People are like, what's going on here? You didn't. And that humility and that humble nature it starts with your mom and dad, right?
Sure, 100%. I mean, them, just like I said, growing up and just teaching us how to be humble, how to be grateful for everything that we get. And, I mean, like I've been saying the whole entire offseason, I knew that the deal was going to come. It's just all about just having the right terminology, having the right words that's in the contract, and us being on the same page. That's all it was about. I didn't really want to get everybody else involved on the conversations that we are having in the office. Of course, no one else knows exactly, how everything is going, the conversations that we're having in the building. So no one else can really relate if I'm going out there talking on social media and trying to, just expose the front office. Nothing will ever get done in that type of way. So I feel like my team and also the Vikings did a great job in keeping everything in-house, not letting any information leak out or anything. And I mean, just, and just finally just getting the deal done. I felt like we handled that very, very business-like, and I feel like it was great. And just, handling things like that just, makes our relationship, just with the whole organization, with the team, the owners, the head coach, a whole lot better.
And that's leadership. I mean, leadership doesn't have to be during the game. A quarterback like Brady or Peyton Manning going up and down everybody, dropping F-bombs, trying to get everybody better. It can be by showing the right way to handle what can be tenuous situations and becoming a bona fide leader. You already are, specifically on the field, but becoming more of a behind-the-scenes leader, that's important to you, right?
100%. Having a C on my chest, just like you said, doesn't mean that, I'm going out there making plays for our team. It's the leadership that we have, just leading off the field and on the field, being that role model to some of these younger guys. And just, you never want to have that bad energy on you, especially during contract talks, especially during a time where a lot of people would want you to talk about it and want you to be vocal about it, especially on social media and everything. So just keeping it in-house, making sure that only my teammates and the people that's in the building understand what's going on and know what's the real. So as long as that happens the way it needs to happen, I'm all good.
I'm struggling not calling you JJ, so I'm still working through that, and I know the kid's out, but still. All right, so finally the last question, I promise you, it's your choice, left or right. Which one do you want it to be?
Right.
Right? Okay, well, that means one of those 10-carat earrings you have in for those nice things we said about your mom and dad. I'll take the right if you don't mind. God bless you, buddy. You're a treat to be around.
Yeah, I got you, dog.
He's JJ.
Thank you, Justin, and thank all of you for stopping by Carousel Park. And he's JJ and stopping in the Mesh-Besher Spence fan stands. Thank you very much for listening to KFAN when you do. Now, when we return, Gabe Henderson from Vikings.com and the Vikings Entertainment Network is the first of a cavalcade of elite football minds to join the 9 to noon presentation from the Great Minnesota Get-Together on a sultry Monday. We're all here together at KFAN.
Let the spirit of fans up with
Fan the flames. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great receivers in the history of Liberty Flame football, and also a key cog for the Vikings Entertainment Network and Vikings.com. Can we get a witness and a raucous round of applause, please, for one of my very best friends? Gabe Henderson has joined us here. Gabe Henderson. Gabe Henderson that's an athlete's name. It's like when you pop out of the womb, you got mom and dad. What name are we going to put on this young man? Now, when he came out, he was probably 3 inches shorter than most babies on average. I'm just playing with you. But they put a Gabriel Henderson on you, so they name you after a powerful angel, which is really cool. But then we have Gabe Henderson, which, I mean, it sounds like say you had advanced to the NFL. Bryce Young takes the snap, play action, fires deep left side, caught Gabe Henderson inside the 20, 15, touchdown. That's like fires left, Paul Allen caught. Yeah. Eric Nordquist, that's probably better set for hockey or soccer. Gabe Henderson, that's a hell of an athlete's name right there, man. That just kind of just hit me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about, Bryce Young throwing the ball. I feel like he has better chances of throwing that to either Adam Thielen or Xavier Legette. But to your point of Gabriel being an angel, it's the messenger angel. So clearly I'm doing something right with my life in the NFL and doing the messenger thing and putting those two together. I guess we are full go now.
Well, the messages that we have to share today as a common thread, of course, involve the Minnesota Vikings at 9 to noon, is the Core Four, a place you will get a lot of Minnesota Vikings conversation. They finished the preseason 3-0, and they travel to New Jersey to take on the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium a couple of Sundays from now. Follow Gabe via Twitter, if you're so inclined, as 9 to noon does, at Gabe A. Henderson. Gabe A. Henderson. Do you love this state fair, and how does it compare to your native North Carolina or maybe Virginia when you went to Liberty University? And good morning.
Good morning. This is my fourth state fair, I believe, and every year it continues to get better. When I was walking in earlier today, I was like, man, I missed this. I missed just the camaraderie, the energy. I mean, I was walking in at 8:45 and it's packed. So clearly, Minnesotans, they do it right here. But thinking about, the North Carolina State Fair back home in Raleigh, getting those funnel cakes,
So the fair is in your hometown of Raleigh.
It's about 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, that's nice.
And it makes me miss home, but Minnesota State Fair is much bigger.
Yeah.
There's much more to do, much more food, but home is home. You know how that works.
Yeah, well, in the home of Bojangles, which is synonymous with barbecue, when, it's like I went on some 25-minute walk with Gabe when the Vikings were set to play the Carolina Panthers. He's from Raleigh, North Carolina. We're in Charlotte. And he's talking about his favorite place, Bojangles, and I didn't even look it up. I thought we were going to, a restaurant that would be like Revival here in, say, Minneapolis, St. Paul, St. Louis Park, wherever else Nick has his stores these days, Revival, which is a really nice place, sit-down place. And so I thought we were going to a restaurant like that. And it ended up being closed, so I had to walk through the drive-thru to start. It was of the fast food variety, which was fine, but the food was unbelievable. But I would imagine at the North Carolina State Fair, barbecue is probably an A topic throughout the fair, like contests and stuff like that.
For sure. I mean, Minnesota's the state of 10,000 lakes. I would say Raleigh is the city of 10,000 barbecue sandwiches. It is the barbecue galore there. We're vinegar based, so I'm very biased when it comes to my barbecue. I know there's 8 different states that say they do it the best.
Right.
But when it comes to North Carolina, Raleigh in particular, that's the only place you can get barbecue.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, here in the cornfields, the man to your left, Nordo, is a grilling aficionado.
Yeah.
Very, very good at it. Takes it very seriously. When it comes to barbecue sandwiches or types of meat, vinegar based. What's that? And is that something you implement?
Well, Minnesota's coming along from a barbecue standpoint, but they're not touching the Carolinas. They're not touching Texas. They're not touching Memphis.
But what about you and your Traeger?
Well, it's most of the time when I cook stuff, because I've been taught, and I work with people personally that do cook in Kansas City and Texas specifically. Anybody around here, neighbors, friends, they're like, this is too salty, this is too peppery.
Wow.
And they're kind of almost offended by the flavor.
Wow.
And so that would be the case if you walk down, you like your mild salsa and your tater tot hot dish. That's how I grew up here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You'd be blown away by the flavors that you get in North Carolina. It's so different, a different universe when it comes to barbecue.
But vinegar based, I've even living in the Washington D.C. area, a lot of barbecue, and on the road we've had barbecue all over the place. Vinegar based, I guess that's new to me. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah, so basically in North Carolina, when they slow cook their barbecue, they have vinegar either on it or underneath it, which makes it simmer a little bit down. It makes it more moist, makes it just fall off the bones when you start to cut it off. And then add that with some barbecue sauce and then a little bit extra vinegar. You got some really good Carolina barbecue.
You can use apple cider vinegar on ribs. That's pretty popular up here, but not to the extent of mustard on ribs and things. Very popular in other parts of the country. It's a binder. But that's you don't get that up here very often.
Oh, so what? Just generally speaking, you're an elite football mind. Stream your consciousness. Cut day. The cuts will take place tomorrow.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the metaphorical hay is is in the proverbial barn for the 2024 Minnesota Vikings. And during the course of the week, probably beginning tomorrow, maybe a little bit low-key today, a lot of the 9 to noon conversation shifts to, I believe, the quarterback Sam Darnold is the A topic. And there's been a lot of conversation about Sam Darnold in the offseason, but now we're walking up to the games. And it's not going to be Darnold a series, Mullins 4 series, Jaron Hall 3 series, and then Matt Corral, mopping up at the end of the fourth quarter. It's Darnold. It's Darnold's money with Jefferson, Addison if that ankle's good, Hawkinson when he returns, play action off Aaron Jones, and the offense should be really, really good. So overall, just what do you think of the squad?
I really like this team. There is a lot of opportunities for Sam Darnold to not have to be the greatest quarterback in the NFL, simply because of all the weapons that you just talked about with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, so on and so forth. So this is a team that you hope that Cleveland Browns last week, they really got some really good work and built some really good chemistry against an opposing starting defense, because when you go up against this New York Giants team that I believe has a really good defensive line.
Right. That
chemistry has to be on tack.
And they have Brian Burns, too, by the way.
For sure. So they can stop the run. They can rush the passer. A lot of different areas for those guys to be successful. So I really hope this Minnesota Vikings team, with Sam Darnold leading the troops, hopefully their chemistry is already to a point where they don't have to relearn things starting week 1. So I'm excited to see what it can look like. And Sam Darnold's a guy that has been in this offense, has been here since April, hasn't been home. I think he's been home maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time during this whole span. So.
Loves it so much he sleeps on a cot at the facility April, May, June, July, and August. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that offseason work finally means something week 1 against the New York Giants.
Prior to the game on Saturday, we played some audio during the broadcast, and it was Justin Jefferson talking about just that, the chemistry with Sam Darnold. From the wide receivers end, what does that look like? Because we can focus on the learning curve that Sam Darnold has, but creating those relationships with not only Jefferson, but Addison, Tristan Jackson feels like he's going to be a hard guy to cut tomorrow. So those guys in the mix, what's that chemistry building process looking like?
Yeah, I think as a quarterback, you want to understand every receiver's strengths and weaknesses. Every receiver runs routes differently. Every receiver catches the ball differently. And for a quarterback, it's your job to know where they are, where they want the ball, where they want to be. And ultimately, that builds that chemistry, because all 3 of those guys, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, you mentioned Tristan Jackson, all 3 of those guys, if they're on the field together, they have to be able to complement each other in the best way possible. So for a quarterback, if you don't understand all 3 of those guys' strengths at all times of the game, that's going to make it hard for the offense to move forward. So being able to build some of those relationships and build that chemistry last week in Cleveland, during practices, training camp, mini camp, hopefully we'll see that come week 1 against the New York Giants.
I'm not going to weave my way through the predicted 53 with you. I'm going to save it for Gessling and or Alec Lewis. But just for what it's worth, I have 6 receivers making the active roster. They would be Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Trent Sherfield Sr., along with Tristan Jackson. Who am I missing? Brandon Powell. Yeah, so I got those 6, and I have 5 active on game day because 3 of them are so important on special teams. So with that said, Trent Sherfield Sr. Okay, this is a tough guy right here. When special teams pop up, you're going to notice number 11, unless he changes his number because like somebody wears the number he wants and they take a cut-related L. So he could be changing numbers, but nevertheless, Sherfield Sr. And also as a wide receiver, maybe a little bit of some screen and stuff like that. Tough guy football. He, as a free agent, he's been with like Buffalo most recently, San Francisco, like Miami and stuff like that. He's been with 4 teams. But what do you think of him? I didn't know much about him before he got here. I really like him.
Yeah, he's very tough. When you look at a receiver that can do it all, especially in the run blocking game, that's something that makes him more valuable. We saw KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen when he was here in Kevin O'Connell's first year here. He spent a lot of time, blocking. Blocking defensive ends and then going out on routes, being used as a Swiss Army knife, and having a young guy, a shifty guy, someone that's fast like Trent Sherfield to do that, I believe that makes this entire offense better. And hopefully he's one of those guys that has grown in this offense. He's been around the league so many years that he understands how to maneuver the game. He understands that the game is slowed down a little bit for him. He can see the big picture of it. So that makes this entire offense better. That makes Sam Darnold better. And if you're Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, you know you're going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups because Trent Sherfield is a guy that you have to pay close attention to if he's in the game.
All right, watch out for the dumbest question that you're going to hear 9 to noon, maybe this entire football season.
Oh, wait till I get into Dallas Gant with the scribes but anyway.
So Lucky Jackson.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of nice catches on Saturday at Philadelphia. There were 2 different plays where Jaron Hall, who had a really nice day, his best performance, I think, in purple, and this injury thing, how that impacts things moving forward, we'll see. But Lucky Jackson twice gets a catchable ball, and it's a toe tap in the end zone. One was front side to our left.
Yeah.
The other was front side to our right. In both instances, secures the catch, but he's clearly out of bounds.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, again, stupid question, is instinct versus training, knowing where your boundaries are, awareness of that, is that something, me as a kid, I'm just practicing catching toe tappers, Chris Carter style on my couch.
Yeah.
What are football players doing, knowing their boundaries, helmet on, all of that from an awareness standpoint? Because Lucky Jackson should have had 2 touchdowns on Saturday, and he came up with none.
Yeah, those were 2 very unfortunate plays. And if you watch receiver drills prior to kickoff, like you'll see Keenan McCardell throwing to those guys, making sure they get 2 feet in bounds, or giving them difficult catch, or throwing the ball so they can make difficult catches and still get 2 feet down. When you're doing it full speed, that's a lot tougher. And we've seen some of the elite receivers only get 1 foot down and miss a touchdown. But yeah, you're a pro. You want to be able to make those plays when your number is called, and I'm sure Lucky Jackson is beating himself over the head for not being able to come down with both feet in bounds on both of those plays.
It's the best game he's had in the National Football League, and it's not even close. I mean, he made 2 catches in tight quarters that he would not have made last year. And the thing that really because Lucky feels like a practice squad type guy, unless somebody gets their pluck on, then he has to be active for at least 3 games for the team that takes him. But last year he was active 3 games, didn't have a catch. But he played full-time special teams and played it really well from what I understand. So it's players like that are underrated, like Trent Sherfield Sr. is another one we talked about. Yeah. They're just underrated when it comes to teams being really good.
Yeah, you got to have that versatility, especially if you're not a starter. If you're not a day 1 starter and everyone knows that you're Justin Jefferson, you better know how to play special teams, because that's your way on the bus. And hopefully Lucky Jackson, whoever, Trent Sherfield, if those guys want to get their number called, hopefully they can be valuable not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also in special teams, because that is a underrated portion of the game.
How do we think they will use Speedy Naylor? Jalen Naylor, 3rd-year Michigan State, one of the 2 fastest guys on the team. How do we think they're going to use old Speedy?
Well, you brought up Trent Sherfield and what he brings to the table, right? And the first thing I said was, well, you need a guy that can block. And if you look at Jalen Naylor, if he's going to be the wide receiver 3, he's going to have to be able to block. We know he can run routes. We know he's fast. We know he can make plays down the field. But can you complement that when the ball is not coming your way? And for a guy to put on weight, I mean, we've seen Jalen Naylor without a shirt on this offseason.
Yeah.
That guy is
bulked up. And he's only up 7 or 8 pounds.
But it's all muscle.
Right.
Which
but
is crazy.
These off-season workout programs, is his goal was to put on 7 to 9. He put on 7. But here's the A topic. I want to put this weight on, but I don't want to lose any of my speed. And he's faster now than he was last year.
Which is a great testament to him really diving into his offseason plan this offseason. We know this Minnesota Vikings strength and conditioning staff, even Tyler Williams, all those guys are very key to these players' development, both this, athletic performance as well as, trying to stay on the field. So I'm hoping Jalen Naylor can really make that next step in his career, still be consistent.
Yeah.
But also, look.
Stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. The availability is the best ability. And just thinking about all of that, I'm excited to see if he can make that next step in his career.
Well, and the next step, or at least a snapshot, a snippet of what is part of that next step, Gabe and I saw about 10 feet away at the second joint practice in Berea, Ohio, against the Cleveland Browns, because the Minnesota Vikings offense during the Wednesday joint practice against Myles Garrett and who's your guy, linebacker who just got
Owusu Koromoa.
Holy cow! Wow, I mean, my man is fast and he's good. He just got paid. Someone say he got a bag, but so we're watching the Vikings offense, and it's just, I mean, it's just, you know, they're just were it was lacking consistency. Let's put it that way. So Kevin O'Connell wanted to put in a couple of things you don't generally see in joint practices to try to get the emotion going. Let's get some cheers on our sideline. One of them was inside the 10-yard line. The first offense, Darnold, Jefferson, Josh Oliver, all the right guys, Darisaw, O'Neal, and so on. They're working inside the 10 against Myles Garrett and a really good Cleveland Browns defense. And like 2 plays in a row, nothing great. So then he runs a double reverse. All right. So he gives it to Jefferson at the 8. Jefferson comes, as we see it, left to right, flips it to Speedy Naylor, who's coming right to left. and Cleveland Browns were like, hello. This is a joint practice. I mean, we ain't going to be ready for that till like week 6. And Jalen just, I mean, he was so fast, and he got it, and then he turned the corner and walked in. Yeah. That got the team a little confidence. The next play, they lined up in the same formation, and Darnold held a safety with his eyes long enough to loop it to Josh Oliver, back center of the end zone, and Josh's vertical was quite good for what would have been a touchdown. So it's the intricate things, the nuance of stuff like that not only factors into Naylor. You get Naylor on the run with the end around play, or any type of reverse, or these bubble screens if he can handle it. Throw him open for yards after catch. I mean, there could be gold in our hills.
He's got such long strides, and when he's a guy that it doesn't look like he's running fast, but if you stand beside him, it's like, oh wow, this guy is moving. So I'm excited for Jalen Naylor. This is one of those things where we've been talking about him all offseason, and he's been the number one talking point for everyone, both in the building and externally. So if he can put all of that together when these games actually start to matter, this offense is going to be humming, especially that wide receiver.
Is it as easy for Sam Darnold as just doing everything that you're supposed to do, drawing in the lines? He can make all the throws in this offense, right? So just following the game plan, and that's how success unfolds?
I think 100%. I mean, Kevin O'Connell was going to put Sam Darnold in the best position possible. And for Sam, like we talked about before, like, we don't need you to be Pat Mahomes. Like, we don't need you to do that. All we need you to do is get the ball in the right playmakers' hands and let them guys go make plays. We know Sam Darnold can throw the ball down the field. We know he's very accurate. But until, the coaches see fit for him to, continue to grow in this playbook, let those receivers work. Let those running backs work.
Now, with new personnel, including Naylor, how much does Kevin O'Connell have to adjust from a coaching standpoint, where you just spent the last few minutes talking about a speed element and an athleticism that, as much as we enjoyed his time here, KJ Osborne did not have those things. So what kind of an adjustment is that from Kevin O'Connell's standpoint?
Yeah, I think you have to play into these players' strengths. And I think it's a partnership, right? Where if you're a receiver, there is a scheme that Kevin O'Connell wants to run. So if you're not the guy for it, I'm sure, Kwesi and the staff are going to make the best decision to move forward. But if you are the guy, then you have to find that happy balance of, okay, this is what Kevin O'Connell wants. And Kevin O'Connell was saying, okay, he's doing exactly what I need, but what are his strengths? How can he make this offense better? So KJ Osborne was a guy that was very shifty. Could run every route that you needed him to run. I hate last night he got a touchdown call back against the Commanders. It was a
who did?
KJ Osborne.
Right.
Drake May threw a 57-yard bomb to KJ, and I believe it was like a legal man downfield.
May look sharp.
But when you look at KJ, not KJ Osborne, but Jalen Naylor's a little bit more fast. I mean, Speedy is his nickname for a reason. But still, like, there is a scheme that Kevin O'Connell likes to run. So there's going to be a balance with how Kevin O'Connell utilizes him and how this offense continues to progress with the new wide receiver 3 in the mix.
I'm just ready for them to unleash. I know we've been talking about wide receivers and the passing game.
AJ, right?
I want to see Aaron Jones. I want to see how that thing
I'm super
works.
excited for him, too.
You in the third quarter, and you played the audio in the opening highlight, and it was cool. Like Dwayne McBride, UAB Blazers finest, but he's not exactly a Blazer, and he never caught passes in college. So it was a cool moment. Muscles his way through a tackle. May have been a penalty, but we move on. Aaron Jones catching passes out of the backfield is going to look a hell of a lot different.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it for weeks. I just need it to happen now. Mm-hmm. And we're less than 2 weeks from that happening. I'm excited about it.
Dude, that's probably what I'm most excited for this upcoming year, is seeing what Aaron Jones could do in this Minnesota Vikings offense. Like, the guy has yet to be tackled in a purple jersey. And we can know, practices, they don't tackle. This only thud. And then joint practices, they weren't tackling then. So seeing this guy break through tackles or get out in open space and make a guy miss on a screenplay, like, that is something that we haven't seen in a while here. So to have a guy like Aaron Jones, who is just, in my opinion, one of the best running backs in the league, it'll be exciting to see how Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips uses him this year.
The Minnesota Vikings offense in the preseason, I mean, we're not in greatest show on turf mode when talking about preseason games, but in the first 3 years or the first 3 preseasons with O'Connell, or just seeing preseason football as long as we have, for the most part, then we had some corral terrorism, and then everything just kind of slowed down. Oof. But it just looked fluid. I mean, it's like, okay, Lucky, Trent, whomever, with Myles Gaskin, Malik Knowles, single coverage. Yeah. There it is. Go beat it. And they beat it. And the quarterbacks, the from Hall through Mullins and Darnold, they were on time mostly. So it was kind of impressive the way the offense operated, granted, in those circumstances.
Well, how about this, too, is you have the first preseason game, and in 2022, all the successes that we had, there's the third quarter lulls, we were flying by the seat of our pants, all of that. The Minnesota Vikings, at one point, I think, into that New England game, had scored a touchdown on their opening possession in 7 of the first 11 games. That's a really big deal. Let's get leads and let's try to hold on to them. In the preseason, Darnold, clockwork 12-play drive that ultimately it stinks. It ends in the 4th down, but they're inside the 5. Then Mullins opening drive touchdown. Jaron Hall opening drive touchdown. Yeah. The early offense and the timing aspect of that PA, I think, is the A topic there with how KOC wants things because it was working so fluidly on the front end with our preferred players at those times.
Yeah. I mean, when you start any game, when you're Kevin O'Connell, the first thing you want to do is start fast. And then from there, you want to start the second half fast, whether you get the ball or not. And to see the depth, the guy, like even Sam, you talked about Sam Darnold, first drive, first preseason game, should have been a touchdown, but hey, it looked great. The first time we saw Sam Darnold, it was like, oh, wow, this offense can move down the field. Fast forward the last 2 games, just scoring early. Clearly, Kevin O'Connell was telling those guys in the locker room, motivating those guys to look, hey, I know this is a preseason game, but we got to start fast. How you practice today is how the rest of the season is going to be come the regular season. And that was very exciting to see those past 2 weeks scoring touchdowns on those opening drives. And hopefully that can translate well into the season.
Gabe Henderson, Vikings.com, Vikings Entertainment Network. And when we return, Jaron Hall will be part of the conversation. I also want to chat about Myles Gaskin, who I think is in an interesting spot with the Minnesota Vikings. And then when the scribes start rolling in, Ben Gessling from the Star Tribune, StarTribune.com, and Alec Lewis from The Athletic, that's when we will start parsing our way and slicing and dicing through us some 53, active 53, final roster 53 predictions. That'll begin at about 10 o'clock. We will be back to the State Fair in Carousel Park shortly with Main Man G on KFAN.
Man. Find our Mall of America street team all fair long in Carousel Park. Ask them about the Mall of America mystery cards where everyone is a winner. Get yours before they're gone for the summer. So here will be next, KFAN.com keyword calendar.
Henderson at Gabe Henderson via Twitter. He's with the Vikings Entertainment Network and Vikings.com, and is a very kind man and very nice to help 9 to noon here at the State Fair. Running back Myles Gaskin is not as fast as Kene Wanwu, but with all due respect, because I love Kene, he's a better true running back. He's just with the, like we saw it with Cam Akers last year, when he was here, just the sliding and the stop and go and the vision and stuff like that. It's with the cuts getting to 53 tomorrow, and Kene Nwangu with those 3 kick return touchdowns, and he's going to be your kick returner. He's probably going to be one of the primary gunners on the punt coverage team, or perhaps with Jay Ward or Jalen Naylor. Kene's in. Ty Chandler's in. Aaron Jones is in. Myles Gaskin, personally speaking for me, if he's cut and like goes to the practice squad and maybe he stays there so he'd be around, it's going to be difficult for me to see him go because I know he's good, you know?
Yeah, and just thinking about the contributions that he can make on kick return, I know a lot of times you always say, with this new kick return rule, you do need someone that's shifty back there. And we know Kene is fast, he's shifty, one of the best kick returners in the league. But Myles Gaskin can do a lot for you also. And to your point, if that's the way the Vikings want to go,
right,
he's going to be a valuable asset, whether that's here, whether that's elsewhere. And we saw, the past couple of years, or at least last year, the Vikings had him on the practice squad, and they brought him back to the active roster. And it's something that this Vikings team values. And unfortunately, you do have to play the numbers game. This is a business, and you have to make tough decisions. But, yeah, Myles Gaskin has had a very, very, very good preseason, and he's extremely valuable in multi-facets of the game.
Yeah. Now it's unfortunate for Gaskin as an individual that's trying to latch on to a final 53. Doesn't that speak to what they think of Ty Chandler, though? Doesn't that speak to, and then ultimately,
no doubt.
So then it does come down to Kene Nwangu. Well, he's probably not going to get a lot of carries in the regular season unless injury bug hits anyway. Yeah. It comes down to what he can do on special teams. And so definitely from the human element of Myles Gaskin, he's going to have a hard time, speaking his case to stay on this team. But then that also tells me I can't wait to see Ty Chandler. You know what I mean? And that's and the growth of that kid from preseason superstar 2 years ago to getting more and more into the mix and really kind of just taking the reins, I would say, towards the latter part of the season over Alexander Madison. And now he's going to be the backup to Aaron Jones. It's just Gaskin is almost a casualty of us being better at that spot than we were a year ago.
Yeah, Ty Chandler is a hidden gem. He's fast, he's strong, he can get better, to your point of pass blocking, and that's something that he's verbally said that he wants to continue to get better at. He's put on weight this offseason, and he hasn't lost his speed similar to a guy in Jalen Naylor. And just thinking about that 1-2 punch that Ty Chandler and Aaron Jones can provide this Minnesota Vikings offense, I'm very excited to see it. I mean, you talked about Kene Nwangu. I just want to highlight him really quick too. Like I do believe this was his best preseason we've ever seen, especially simply at the running back position. That long touchdown run against the Las Vegas Raiders in preseason game number 1, it was like, oh wow, this guy has figured it out. And just having a few conversations with him, you can tell the game has slowed down for him. We're not asking him to be Aaron Jones, but I do believe if Kene Nwangu is on the team and his number is called, I believe everyone's confidence level in the building raises a little bit more because you've seen him put certain plays on film this preseason.
So my third favorite part of Philly. So we had a flight in which I didn't have somebody sitting next to me. Then we had a hotel room where there was not a 2.5-month-old baby crying, so I slept better than I have in months. My third favorite thing, this sounds dumb, finally getting to see in person the new kickoff bit.
Yeah.
And there are things that can be done there, and that's where Kene and that track speed, finding the boundary like you mentioned against the Raiders, and finding a seam there. There's going to be so much weird stuff happening in the first, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks of the NFL season there. But I finally got to see it from overhead, and now it's starting to make sense to me why some explosive things can happen.
Yeah, and just thinking about how most of these teams have not really implemented like their game plan in these preseason games, I believe the level of excitement for the kickoff rule is going to just heighten that much more. I mean, I don't believe we've seen Kene Nwangu return a kickoff against an opposing team's starting kickoff team.
Right.
And to see what Matt Daniels can kind of orchestrate or curate with his creative mind, I'm excited to see whether that's him, whether that's Brendan Powell, whoever's back there. This Minnesota Vikings team, I believe, has an advantage when it comes to this new rule that the NFL has implemented.
So now the quarterback, Jaron Hall, second-year BYU, 5th-round pick, he he looked good all preseason, and he looked markedly better than last year.
Yeah.
And he looked more in control and calmer than he was last year. Tricky figuring out what's next for him because roster spots are so difficult to come by. They've gone 25-25 offense defense the last couple of years. I think it's going to be a 26-24 this year. I would shade the way of 26 defense. And so that means if you keep Jaren Hall as your active third quarterback, well, then somebody you like takes an L from a special team standpoint, if only. But that's the case for other teams, too, where, I mean, if they pick up, you try to get him to your practice squad and somebody else picks him up, well, they got to make him active, too.
Yeah.
And they're facing the same situation. He's become a conundrum because he got good. He got himself good, and there were head swivel things and holding safeties and running at the right time and touch passes to Lucky Jackson that were just perfectly thrown. So it's I'm quite inquisitive or quite interested in what's next for Jaren Hall.
Having game experience, starting quarterback game experience last year helped him this offseason, and ultimately, with this new, emergency third quarterback that you can activate during the regular season game that the NFL just implemented this year.
Yeah, off the practice squad.
Off the practice, yep. So maybe that raises his value for that position.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the hope. But if anybody's watched, and this is not shoe size east-west of the river conversation, it's fact. What's up, little brother? The Green Bay Packers backup quarterback situation is an atrocity, and they know it's an atrocity. Mike White just got cut by somebody. I think they could be interested in him. I'm telling you right now, if Jaren Hall goes to the Vikings practice squad, there's a chance that he goes to Green Bay as their backup quarterback. I mean, which is, we're not talking about housing Favre in 2009 here, but I believe there are certain teams that are in worse shape backup quarterback-wise than the Minnesota Vikings, and Green Bay is first and foremost for me.
Yeah, it's a really good problem to have if you're this Minnesota Vikings team because you have three guys right now on your roster with starting experience, and all three of those guys have had success in the NFL. And if you're Kevin O'Connell right now, you do have to make a tough decision on which way you want to go. But I've been on record, a couple of years ago when we've done our roster cut down show and we've given our player X and who's most excited, and we've given guys that we're most excited about, and then 2 days later they were on another team. So I don't want to sit here and give a prediction, but it'll be interesting to see the route this Vikings front office takes come Tuesday and moving forward until week.
I don't want you to give a prediction either.
Okay.
That's radar stuff.
Yep.
And thank you very much for showing up and having a good time today. I love you and appreciate your work at Vikings.com and Vikings Entertainment Network.
Thank
all right?
you. Yeah.
Gabe Henderson, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe Gabe and I are doing a cut-down show tomorrow from the Vikings Entertainment Network, and you will see that at Vikings.com. The first scribe to join us is a weekly contributor to 9 to Noon, and also Bumper to Bumper with Barrero on Fridays. His name is Ben Gessling, and he's covered the Minnesota Vikings since 2012 for the Star Tribune. Ben will be joining us at the fan booth at Carousel Park on a steamy Monday when 9 to Noon continues at FM 100.3 KFAN.